Welcome to the TNN Show. I'm your host, Trevor Deal, and this is my co-host, Noah Hester. We're here today to talk about globalization, and we have world economist Dalton Touchberry here with us. Thank you for being here, Dalton.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right in. Dalton, tell us a little bit about globalization.
Okay. Globalization, according to Herbert Bushbaum's essay, Living in a Global Economy, is a worldwide state of economy in which goods are traded across national borders. Basically, products can be made in one nation and then consumed in a different nation. And it's even caused the borders between nations to grow a little bit fuzzier. Chances are my grandparents, your grandparents, his grandparents, all consumed products that were made in this country. They wore clothes that were made in the United States, drove cars that were made here, ate food that was produced in the United States, and that's changed a little bit.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: how has that affected the U.S. economy today?
Okay. Well, back then, during the generation of our grandparents, products stayed within the United States. Things were produced here and then shipped domestically to other people, and the products mainly stayed within our borders. Today, a lot of the manufacturing business and the production has moved overseas. So here in the United States, our economy is mainly a service-based economy rather than a production, product-based economy. And a lot of that has to do with the globalization, with our buying products that are made in other nations, that are produced mainly in countries such as China, Bangladesh, India, Mexico. All of those nations produce a lot of goods which we consume over here.
So it also can hurt our economy because it's taking away job opportunities for Americans in production.
Well, yes, it does have to do with the moving overseas of jobs, but that's not always necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people like to think that jobs moving overseas is a bad thing, but we don't necessarily need the production jobs in the United States. We have a lot of jobs that are still over here, which are service-based jobs, things such as washing cars, making food, and we still do a lot of assembly of products over here rather than the manufacturing of the actual parts. We have parts shipped here, especially something that comes to mind is our auto manufacturers. Ford, Chevrolet, companies like that import their parts, then they do the assembly over here. So we still have lots of jobs, just of a different nature.
Right.
And so you could even say that those jobs are beneficial to the countries that they're exported to. Mexico, especially China, has seen a huge boom in its own economy, and it's primarily because we have moved these jobs over to their nation. And we've also seen a decrease in prices here because of that, because the labor in that part of the world is cheaper.
Right.
So,
Noah, do you have anything to say?
I agree with everything.
So staying on the topic of China, we know China's economy has had a boom, like you said, in the globalization process with their production. Have they had any negative effects that have been able to see in their country?
well, as with any country, when you see economic progress, there's generally some side effects that go along with that, and usually those have a lot to do with the environment. Here in the United States, we have laws. We have the Environmental Protection Agency, which protects our environment from businesses who would not otherwise care about such things, who would try to make just a profit. But in China, there is no EPA, and And so yes, the environmental impact has been very detrimental to their country. They release a lot of smog. We even see smog here in the United States
Right.
that comes from China in California and on the West Coast. But even though the environmental impact is bad, we also see a correlation between globalization of a nation and a higher life expectancy. So nations which are more globalized usually tend to have a higher life expectancy of their citizens. So I would argue that that is more important than the environment. That if people are living longer, then that is always a good thing. Because, I mean, to me, people are more important than the environment. And some people may disagree, but that's just my opinion on the matter.
Right. So we've talked about, some of the negative and positive effects globalization has had on the world economy. If you had to choose one thing, Dalton, that had positively affected the world economy that globalization has done, what would it be?
Well, okay, the main thing that globalization has done for the world economy is the sharp decrease.
Hello? No, man, I'm not doing anything. What's up?
Yeah,
that-
just ignore it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So the main thing that we've seen from globalization would be the sharp decrease in extreme poverty that we've seen throughout the world. In 1820, the portion of the world citizens who were in extreme poverty was greater than 3/5, and at the start of the 1990s, that rate had fallen to under 1/5 of the world population, which was in extreme poverty, and it's continued to fall slowly over through the 90s and up until today. So globalization has overall been a positive effect on the world as a whole, and on the citizens and the humans who live here. We've seen people rise from their poverty and have greater quality of life today because of globalization.
Good. Well, that's great to hear, Dalton. Thank you so much for being here. That's all the time we have left. But thank you for teaching us about globalization. Thank you once again for being here, Dalton.
Thank you.
Let's give it a good big round of applause to Dalton Touchberry.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank our producer, Benjamin Deal. And we'd also like to thank some of the sponsors for tonight. We'd like to thank Clover Valley Water for providing us with this quality H2O.
McDonald's.
We'd like to thank America for providing us with the freedom to make a talk show like this.
And Jesus.
Good night, everybody. Stay classy.
Oh my